Another book today. It's such a gorgeous day yet again. Here we are outside. Do you see my beautiful, where are they? They're there. The beautiful azaleas that are blooming right now. And that's a Japanese maple tree over my head. All kinds of beautiful things in the garden are coming to life. So, and I always talk about color and light and using your imagination and creating things. I just love when nature does its own creating. So today, we're going to read a book that my kids just loved when they were little. They're grown up now, but they were little once, and I love to read to them. This one's called Mr. Mumble. And this is a book that Kelsey and Zach's grandparents gave to them because have you ever had an older person in your life say, "Speak more slowly, speak clearly, I can't understand you"? Mr. Mumble has that same problem. And this is a book that was written by Peter Catalanato, and he also drew all the pictures. And there are some fun pictures in this book. So here we go. Mr. Mumble. That is Mr. Mumble. There he is. Just waking up for the day. Saturday morning. Mr. Mumble woke up with a tickle in his throat. "Oh, I hope I'm not coming down with something," he said to himself, "for I have so much to do today." As he was getting dressed, the phone rang. "Hello, Mumby speaking," he said. "Mr. Mumble?" inquired the operator. "I'm sorry to have bothered you, Mr. Mumble. I was calling a Mr. Mumby." She hung up. But I am Mr. Mumby," he said to himself. "Oh well." It's 10 o'clock in my neighborhood and the church bells are started ringing. It's kind of like a nifty, unexpected musical background, isn't it? There's Mr. Mumble, all dressed for the day. On his way to breakfast, Mr. Mumby passed his landlady carrying a huge basket of laundry. She heard Mr. Mumby say, "May I marry your cat?" "Certainly not," the landlady replied, and hurried into her apartment. What Mr. Mumby really asked was, "May I help carry that?" After dinner, at the diner, he was served 2 scarecrow legs and a car muffler. A car muffler to eat? Mr. Mumby smiled politely, paid his bill, and left the restaurant. What he really ordered was 2 scrambled eggs and a corn muffin. Not 2 scarecrow legs and a car muffler. At the bakery, oh no, what do you think will happen at the bakery? At the bakery, he was handed a dozing beagle. Mr. Mumby had asked for a dozen bagels. Do you see that puppy dog sleeping in his arms? Oh, there's the book. And imagine his bewilderment when at the fruit stand, he asked the woman for a pound of pears. What did he instead of pears? And then the grocer for a can of stew. And the grocer gave him a panda and a kangaroo. Next at the tailor's, a tailor is somebody who fixes your clothes. Next at the tailor's, he was sure he'd mentioned only his light tan coat. Oh my, coughed poor Mr. Mumby. They gave him a nice white goat. Oh my goodness. There's the book. Then at the 5 and dime, a clerk gave him an aardvark when he asked for an alarm clock. Do you see the aardvark there? Along with the kangaroo and the dozing beagle and the panda bear and the very nice white goat. Oh, the things that can happen when you don't speak clearly. And the haberdasher, a haberdasher is an old word that means like a hat maker, men's clothing kind of place. And then at the haberdasher, he handed him a muskrat when all he said to the man was he needed a new hat. A muskrat? It's kind of like a groundhog. Can you imagine asking for a hat and getting a muskrat instead? At last, Mr. Mumbly bleated as best he could. No one seems to understand me today. He thought he'd better see a doctor. That's probably a good idea, Mr. Mumbly. When the doctor asked Mr. Mumby to open wide and say, "Ah," have you ever been to the doctor and he said, "Open wide and say, ah"? Finally, here he is saying, "Ah," and the panda and the kangaroo, the goat are helping. But look over here. What do you think happened? Everyone understood the problem. Squawk! Oh my goodness, Mr. Mumby had a bird in his throat. Smiling at last, Mr. Mumby added another shop to his list. The pet store. I wonder, he said, quite clearly now, what an aardvark eats. The end. That was Mr. Mumble, Story and Paintings by Peter Catalanotto. It's a fun little book. And again, those paintings are just gorgeous artwork, huh? The way they mixed all the colors and made all the different pictures in the book. I super love art. Oh, and look what's crawling on my phone right now. I think I might know what an aardvark eats. Can you see? Where is he? There he is. Can you see the ant? That's what aardvarks eat, for sure. And before, I have some poems that I'd like to read you as well. But before I start, I want to let you know again that at 2 o'clock today, Miss Karen will be reading some more of the Princess in Black series. Super fun. I can't wait to see what the princess is up to today. And we'll have another story time tomorrow at 10 a.m. So, poems. There's an old African saying that says, when they heard the rhythms of poetry from the English language, that the boys all hollered, "Talk more like the rain, talk like the way rain pitter-patters and comes down." And that's where this book comes from. It's called Talking Like the Rain. And it's a compilation of stories and poetry. And there's just a couple in here that I thought were super appropriate for today. First one is about gardening. If I can find my little pink tab that says, hey, here's the poem, Miss Jeannie. Here it is. And a super great poem for a day like today. It's called Getting Dirty. Let's go rolling, rolling as fast as round rocks roll down a hillside hollering when we hit a hole. Make believe we're rabbits in a garden patch, quick lips clipping lettuce leaves, fast feet dogs can't catch. Let's play knights in armor, rushing swords in battle, shake a stone inside a can, make a thunder rattle. Let's play I'm a tiger. You yell, help, I'm bit. Well, let's not play that anymore. Tag, you're it. Here's a peaceful paddle. Here's a peaceful puddle. Just the thing to smash. What a mess of mushy mud. In and out we splash. How will Mother wash us off? Mother only knows. Line us up against the house, slosh us with the hose. Did you ever get so muddy that you got washed off with a hose outside before Mom let you inside? That's super fun, but the water is super cold too. Poems are so much fun. And here's a poem that maybe just some of you might be able to relate to pretty soon. The tooth. I jiggled it, jaggled it, jerked it. I pushed and pulled and poked it, but as soon as I stopped and left it alone, the tooth came out on its very own. And one more poem today, because I like chickens. Did you ever see a chicken? They kinda look like that. Said the first little chicken with a queer little squirm, I wish I could find a fat little worm. Said the next little chicken with an odd little shrug, I wish I could find a fat little slug. Said the third little chicken with a sharp little squeal, I wish I could find some nice yellow meal. Said the fourth little chicken with a small sigh of grief, I wish I could find a little green leaf. Said the fifth little chicken with a faint little moan, I wish I could find a wee gravel stone. Now see here, said the mother from the green garden patch, if you want any breakfast, just come here and scratch. Poems are fun language, aren't they? It's just a bunch of little silliness about just whatever you want. If something's on your mind, you can make up a rhyme, and it doesn't necessarily have to all go together. It's just whatever you feel like saying. Have some fun with poems. It's a fun way to play around with language, and I think one of these days we'll tackle some tongue twisters too, which I just love. Now, one more thing. At our next story time, I hope that you can bring a paper and some drawing paper and crayons and pencils and maybe some markers, because we're going to learn how to draw some stuff like bugs, like ladybugs, like ants, like spiders, maybe some birds, maybe even a dog, a cat. There's this super cool book by a guy named Ed Emberley, who thought when he was a little boy, all he ever wanted was a book that taught him the basics of how to draw. So instead of sitting around and waiting for one, he wrote a whole bunch of them. And this is one from when I was a little girl. Ed Emberley's Drawing Book of Animals. And in order to draw these books, in order to draw any of Mr. Emberley's pictures, it's pretty cool. Oh, I hear some sirens in the background now. All you need to be able to draw are squiggles and dots and circles. So when we meet again on Friday, be sure to bring your crayons and pencils, and we'll have a little drawing time and draw some of the stuff we see out here in the beautiful outdoors. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see you again real soon. Mariposa Theater is super happy that you're joining us, and we're trying real hard to get back to where we can all be together again. So have a beautiful day. Imagine something fabulous.